Broadcasting Corporation and CNN. After talking to some of the customers, Mr. Buchanan answered a few questions from one of the BBC reporters. Dover is considered the oldest permanent settlement in New Hampshire, having been founded in 1623 by fishermen and traders. Today, the city is a center of manufacturing and business enterprises.
How are you? Good to see you. Hi, how you doing? Good to see you. Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
See you.
Good to see you. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Appreciate it. How you doing?
Good.
You can't vote, can you? How you doing? What's your name?
Christine.
What?
Christine.
Christine. That's a terrific name.
How do you do?
Hi, how are you?
Good
Good
luck.
to see you.
You're
Thanks
the
very
right
much.
man.
Thank you very much. How you doing?
Good.
What's your name?
Colleen.
Colleen. That's an Irish name, isn't it? Maybe, maybe. Hi, how are you? Pat
And their
Buchanan.
uncle went to Gonzaga.
Gonzaga High School?
Yes, sir.
What's your uncle's name?
Brophy.
Brophy.
Frank Brophy. I don't, what year?
What's the name? Yeah, that's a name from the neighborhood.
Oh.
Brophy, sure, I know that name. Sure, sure. Say hello to him, all right?
Okay.
Hi.
Welcome to the Live Free or Die state. We're for you.
Well, good. Thank you very kindly. Good to see you.
Welcome, Pat. Good luck.
Well, thanks very much. Thanks for coming out. Hi, how you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you. Pleasure, right. Hi there. Well, where's the, thought you all serving? Hi. You sure may, right. How you doing?
Great. Thank you very much.
Let's see. Hi, how you doing? Good to see you. Pleasure. How are you?
Good, good. How you doing?
Doing fine.
Good luck.
Thanks very kindly. Hi.
Luck to you.
Thanks very much.
Good luck.
Thank you very much. Good to see you.
Hi, Pat.
Hi, how you doing?
How you
Good to see you.
Welcome.
Hi, how are
We
you?
have a message
Hello.
to share today.
Yeah, hello.
Good to see you. How are you doing? How are you doing, sir? Pat Buchanan, how are you? Pleasure to meet you. Hi there. Good to see you. Well, it's not the presidential motorcade, but it's the next best thing, all right? They couldn't bring Air Force One in here.
Little too big.
Little too big, right. What did you say?
No, John Gazio came in this morning to say hello to you.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
Okay.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
We might get some good donuts here and things.
Not donuts, but we do have muffins. Excellent.
Okay.
What?
I'm gonna get a coffee and something here, sure.
We have 3 banana splits.
Let me say hello to these folks here. I can't, all these lights, I can't. Let me stop over here. Hi there, how are you, sir? Pat Buchanan, good to see you. Just stopping in. Pleasure to see you. How are you, sir?
Hey, I missed you on Crossfire.
How you do?
Watching you
every night on
I agree with you sometimes, sometimes I don't.
You don't agree with me?
Sometimes I don't.
Why not? You know?
Well,
You don't convince you by the end of the show?
maybe.
You don't agree with Kinsley a lot, do you? I can't believe it. Oh, you do? You think Sununu's going to do a good job there?
He's taking your price.
He's taking my place March 1st, yeah.
I understand.
Yeah.
aren't going to go back?
Huh?
He's going to be president.
We're going to be the president. You know that. You don't believe that, do you? Haven't you seen the polls? We're rolling. We're gonna take it easy. We'll see you. Good to see you. Good luck, Pat. Okay.
Morning.
Hi there. How are you? We got new recruits, huh? Yeah. Hi, how you doing? Good to see you. Sit down. Sit down, everybody. Thank you very much. Good to see you. Not yet.
Why not?
Well, Mr. Bush says he's going to kick my tail, is what he's saying all over New Hampshire. Let me go around this way. Hi, how you doing? Good to see you.
I read right from the beginning, almost converted to Catholicism.
Oh, you
I
did?
enjoyed it very much.
Well, terrific. How long ago did you read it?
When it came out, 88,
Oh, great. You ought to get the paper. Well, why don't you call my office, get the paperback? They got there's a new ending to it. It's a eulogy for my father in the paperback. You might enjoy it. Okay?
I think I would. Thank you very much.
I want to ask you about your new book, right from the beginning. We want to get a hold of that.
My goodness, what are you reading here? The New American.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, Conservative Book Club, you can get your copies, and Little Brown has copies, and I think they put them up here in a lot of stores, but they ran out of them. Why don't you join this Conservative Book Club, okay?
Okay.
All right.
I still can't believe you were educated by Jesuits. Good luck to you.
The old ones, right.
How you doing?
Good to see you. Pleasure. Sit down.
Time for change. Time for change.
It sure is. It sure is.
That's what happened.
Okay.
Pat, nice meeting you. Don't mind if I call you Pat, do you?
Not at all, not
Good.
at all.
Good.
It's good to see you. How you doing this morning?
Well, just fine.
Good, good.
As long as I'm retired and have a cup of coffee with you.
Right? Okay. Sit down. Let's see. See hello to these folks.
Good morning. Good morning.
Hi, how you
Nice to
doing?
see you.
Hi.
Happy to meet you. I miss you on Crossfire.
Oh, you do?
Bang and the Clock and Crew.
You watch all those shows up here, huh?
We do. Yes, we do.
How the show's doing? I haven't seen too much of them since I left.
Well, they've
Carrying on,
lost
but
a
there's
little
something that's
something.
been lost.
Well, yes.
Something well,
The
thank you very
charisma's
much.
gone.
Charisma.
The charisma.
First person in the entire state of New Hampshire that said I had charisma.
You certainly do have charisma. Good luck.
Thanks very much. Good to see you. Let's see, I don't want to miss any folks here. Hi, Pat Buchanan. Good to see you. Don't mind all my friends with the lights and things.
I sent you a fan letter once. He wrote a beautiful column. I don't even remember what it was about, but it was a wonderful column. I hope you win.
Well, thank you very much. It's very nice of you. Appreciate it. Hi.
Good morning, Pat. Glad to have you here.
Good to see you. Thanks for saying hello.
Nice to meet
Good to see you. How you doing?
Lead quite a life.
Huh?
Lead quite a life.
Hi there. I like you better in person than I did even on TV.
Well, thanks very kindly.
Thank you.
What didn't you like about TV? It's a little harsh.
It's a
strident,
little bit
a little noisy.
that's awful noisy sometime when they get going there.
Yeah, yeah. We have that problem, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's all right.
Mr. Buchanan.
Hi. how you
Morning.
doing? Good to see you. How
Somebody
are you?
needs to remind you the president doesn't have the line item veto yet. Maybe you need a new research assistant.
No. Listen, there are constitutional authorities who say he's got it. And the thing to do is test whether you have it and send it to the Supreme Court.
Well, he doesn't have it yet.
Well, then you'd have to argue the other side of that case. But the Wall Street Journal argues that constantly. He has it and he ought to use it. We would give it a try anyhow. Hi there, sir. How are you? Sir? Sit down. Good to see you.
Enjoy you on TV very, very much.
Well, thanks very much. You watch CNN or you watch the Rock and Roll?
Both.
Both, yeah.
Mr. Buchanan, nice to meet you.
Good to see you. Pleasure. Right.
Back again.
Back again, right. Let me say hello to these folks.
Hello.
Hi, Pat Buchanan. Good to see you, sir. Pleasure.
Hi, Mr. Buchanan. I had to take the day off work to meet the next president of the United States.
Oh, thanks very much. It's very gracious of you to come by. Hi there.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Good to see you, sir.
Good luck.
Thanks very much.
Oh, definitely.
Right on. Okay. Yes, sir. Did we say hello to you gentlemen? Didn't we already? We sure did. Right. Good to see you. Okay. Okay, we're going to get up.
My wife just sorry she couldn't make it today. You know?
Well, you give her my best, huh? Tell her we came on through. Right.
Well, we're with you.
Okay, I appreciate it. Hi there. Let me say hello. How you folks doing? Pat Buchanan.
Hi.
Good to see you. Fletcher, good to see you. Hi, how are you?
How are you?
I'm doing fine. How you doing?
Just fine.
It's a early morning coffee, huh?
Just a little bit.
Get the engines going.
That's right.
I need some too. Good to see you. How are you, sir?
Fine.
Pleasure.
Nice
Sit
seeing
down.
you, and do what you have to do to beat Judge Bush.
We're doing our best.
I miss you in Crossfire.
You do?
I'd rather see you be president.
Uh-huh. Well, thank
Good
you.
luck to you, and I'm
Is
behind you
Novak
100%.
doing a good job filling in?
Yes.
Good, good. I'll tell him that. How you doing?
Doing a very good job. Watch you all the time.
Thank you very much. How you doing? How you doing?
Nice seeing you again.
Good seeing you again.
Good much, yeah.
We enjoyed you on Crossfire.
Well,
Are
thank
you going to go back to that?
We're going to do it from Camp David, I think.
Camp David, there you
Yeah,
go.
it'll be from there.
Get a summer White House up here, you know. He's got up in Kennebunkport. How about you up in Lake Winnipesaukee or something?
Listen, I'm afraid I'm a warm weather guy. I go right down to Ocean City, Rehoboth. I don't go very far from D.C., I'm afraid. A very local fellow.
Good luck.
Take it easy. Thanks. All right. Okay. How do you do, sir? Good to meet you, sir.
Pat.
Your name's Pat?
Yeah.
Good. How do I look in the papers this morning?
Well, checking you out. You're doing well. Boston Globe says you're doing better. You got to be doing all right.
Well, we got somebody in the Boston Globe that's saying that here, huh?
Is campaigning in New Hampshire, has it changed you, and if so, how?
It's you come to see people up real close, and the first time I've ever been campaigning, you know, so it's...
That's why I asked the question.
Yeah, it does. It does. You talk to people, and then you get their ideas and their stories, and when you speak, you start giving them back, and so you internalize a lot of what's going on here, I think, you know.
Well, nice to see you.
Good to see you. We got six days to go. Give us a hand if you can, huh?
We will.
We will. Okay.
How you doing?
Doing okay. Doing okay. This is my friend.
What kind of muffin would you like? Because we're going to sit in that corner over there.
Okay, I'd like, what do you think, the English muffin? Be fine?
English muffin, sure.
Fine. And a cup of coffee, yeah.
Okay, great.
Thanks very much.
We're going to take that corner booth right over there.
Okay. Watch yourself, you guys. I'll read today where George Bush is going to liberate the American economy. Jeez. Oh, you got some cream here? See if I can bring this over here. Hi, how are you?
Mr. Buchanan from BBC Breakfast Time Television.
Breakfast time, right. It's about mid-afternoon, isn't it, over there right now?
How do you respond to George Bush's counterattack? He's calling your brand of isolationism an economic retreat from reality.
Well, I think it's a wonderful thing that Mr. Bush has come up here to see the reality in New Hampshire that is a consequence of his own policies. You know, this region has lost 500,000 jobs, and this state has lost 50,000 jobs. And so I think Mr. Bush is talking about something that hasn't even happened, but it's a good thing that he's come up here and see what has happened. He talks about today the liberation of the economy has begun. Now, who's been in charge while the economy has been in bondage? It's a fair question.
But what Mr. Bush is saying is that you cannot run for cover in this modern world, that you have to tackle the world and compete with the world.
That's exactly right. And we don't think Mr. Bush has been tough enough with our trading rivals and competitors, specifically the Japanese and the Europeans as well. The four-nation European cartel, of which Great Britain is a member, that is subsidizing with billions of dollars the Airbus, and we think engaging in unfair trade practice against American commercial airline builders. And we think Mr. Bush should have been tougher with the Europeans than he's been. And I think it is Mr. Bush, really, who has had his head in the sand when it comes to trade policy, and not Pat Buchanan.
Your policy seems to be lower taxes and cutting foreign aid, but can those measures in themselves really turn the economy around? Can they cut the unemployment here from around 7% to what it was before, i.e. nothing?
Unemployment here is 7.8%. And it was Mr. Bush himself who said yesterday, government is too big and costs too much. And a lot of my ideas are designed to reduce the size and weight of government. Mr. Bush is adopting my rhetoric. He is adopting some of my ideas. They really don't go as deep or as far as I would go. And there's no doubt about it, you got two roads to go. You can go through energizing the economy if you believe in increased government spending. That's the way the Democrats in Congress will go. That's the way Mr. Bush is going right now. Or you can go back the road to economic freedom, cutting back government the way Margaret Thatcher tried to do and succeeded in doing in Great Britain. And that's the way I would go. That's the difference between the two of us.
You have talked about putting America first, but commentators have pointed out that you used to drive a Mercedes.
I didn't used to drive one. My wife still drives it, and so do I. We have one Cadillac and one Mercedes. That is correct.
Shouldn't you buy American if you say put America first?
I think that's a fair point, and the point's been made again and again and again. It is not invalid. But I will say this with regard to the Germans. The Germans' chief export is automobiles, and their chief import is automobiles. In the area of trade between the United States and Europe, I believe we're running a $20 billion surplus. I do not know that the Germans are engaged in any kind of unfair trade practice with regard to automobiles.
Can I ask you this? Isn't there a danger that by damaging President Bush here, and possibly later on, you could help the Democrats? Because Time magazine says this week that you have zero chance of being elected yourself.
And that's what Time said, huh? Listen, I got into this race because I felt the policies of the Bush administration over 3 years consistently violated the principles of the Republican Party. They contradicted what he said he would do. The alternative we were offered then as conservatives is to sit silent and acquiesce in the re-election of an individual who has walked away from us. Jack Kennedy said sometimes party loyalty asks too much. There is nothing wrong with a strong, healthy debate in the Republican Party over the direction the party should go and the country should go. That's what every 4 years in the good old USA is about, a great national debate. I am in here to represent a point of view of conservative republicanism which dates back to Barry Goldwater and continues through Ronald Reagan. We think that George Bush has abandoned that philosophy, and we intend to try to restore it to the party and try to take the nomination and move the country in that direction. Now, someone suggests, are we going to hurt George Bush? Well, I guess it would embarrass Mr. Bush if we took the nomination away from him, but that's the objective of the whole exercise. All
One
right?
final question. You could do well in New Hampshire, but how well will you do in the rest of the United States?
It is contingent. It is contingent on how well we do in New Hampshire. If we do very well in New Hampshire, and there are signs we are doing better and better, one of those signs is the fact that Air Force One arrived again yesterday. Mr. Bush is coming up here again. If we do very well in New Hampshire, you will see the Buchanan Revolution ignited across this country. And we will go down to Georgia for a head-to-head contest in the next 2 weeks with George Bush, followed by a battle in Super Tuesday. We will see just how hollow the Bush Army is if I do well in New Hampshire. But you're right. We have to do well here. But if we do well, all of a sudden you will see this as I think, as a blazing national contest to which the whole country will be looking.
How badly do you think you could be damaged by, just one final point, if I may, how badly do you think you could be damaged by the allegations that you used racist language when you were an aide to President Nixon? Remarks about Yevtushenko being the house nigger of the Politburo and that sort of thing.
Well, I haven't reviewed all my old memos of 25 years ago. I understand they're sending them out of the archives in bulk now. Let's let everybody else go through them and dig out any quotes they want and put them anywhere they want. This race is about the future of my country, my friend, and where we're going to go. And the ideas Pat Buchanan is raising here about America first, phasing out foreign aid, getting our allies to carry a greater load of the burden of their own defense, standing up for the U.S. in trade negotiations with foreign countries. They are resonating up here with these people who aren't concerned about memos written 25 years ago.
So you're not a racist? You deny being a racist?
Well, heck, we're going to get some breakfast now, my friend.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No problem. Is everybody going to watch this? This is a toasted muffin phase of the candidacy. Remember Gerald Ford?
Is it American?
But it's an English muffin, not an American muffin.
Where's that English fellow? I want give him back his. This isn't a French tie. I think this is an American tie. This is not. Let me see what that is. It's the Georgetown University shop. That's about as American as you can get.
It's not Harvard.
Do you think with the president coming back again on the weekend and Mrs. Bush being up here and putting a heavy push on the last week, that is going to hurt you? I mean, are you going to help him boost his...
There's no question, but when the president came up for his State of the Union, he gets an enormous flood of media, and you get a short halo effect. Now, my guess is the Bush people are looking at their overnights after yesterday because of the enormous publicity they got on television and everything to see how far that carries him back up. I think what happens is he gets carried back up State of the Union, and then we gain on him and close. And he's carried back up, and we close. And I don't know the exact numbers, but it's narrowing. And I think they're probably making their decisions on what they're going to do about me and to me on the weekend and Monday and Tuesday, probably by this afternoon. If I were in the Roosevelt room, that's what I'd be doing.
They've said they're leaving open the option of running negative.
They sure are.
Do you expect to see them in the next couple of days?
I think we're going to do well, so I expect to see them.
You are running now talking with voters talking essentially about their lack of trust in the president. What are you going to be doing advertising-wise over the weekend?
I think we've got we're working on one more ad, aren't we, Greg?
Yeah.
I think it's a comparative Bush-Buchanan ad. But you know, the president has a terrible problem. I pick up the headlines. He's using language of mine, liberation of the American economy. I've been talking about economic freedom. He has a tremendous, credibility problem. He talks about cutting taxes, and he's raised taxes. He talks about holding down spending, and spending has exploded under Mr. Bush. He talks about liberating the economy, and you ask him who's been in charge the last 3 years. I think Mr. Bush is campaigning now with the rhetoric of a conservative Republican traditionalist. But that is the opposite of the way he is governed. I mean, he talks about we're going to fight Congress on March 20th. And people ask, where you been the last 3 years? So I think he's got a real problem in that sense, and a problem with his message. The discordant notes between the message and reality. And that's why my guess is they're going to take a look at hammering me in the last 3 days. Because we're moving.
You will be going on TV for half-an-hour blocks Sunday and Monday night?
I don't know that we've made any decision on that.
We haven't made a decision on that yet.
You spend all your money?
Listen, we got...
Rolling in.
It's rolling in. It really is. I talked to baby sister, and she's just happy as a jaybird. One day, we got 5,000 pieces of mail. The amount of money coming in direct mail is unbelievable. It really is. She says, I don't think we've raised more than Bush did in January. But by direct mail, I think we've raised more. And I think, with some other figures, she said, we had done better than Bush had. She thinks our contributor base in terms of numbers of people is probably larger than his, although they got the National Committee and all those folks. But the amount of contributors we got is tremendous.
Do you have enough money in-house to be able to actually run past Georgia?
We have enough money in-house now to run past Georgia. We have enough money in-house now to start putting it into Georgia. I think we pretty much maxed out New Hampshire. And a lot, as I told the gentleman from the British Isles here, a lot depends on how well you do in New Hampshire. I think this campaign will explode geometrically if you do very well in New Hampshire. And the word goes out to the country that in effect, we've defeated Bush's campaign in New Hampshire. And there's a possibility Pat Buchanan can be nominated. I think a lot of people are waiting. You know, they've heard the arguments that it's a one-state campaign, it's a lark, it's this and that. And if you do well here, I think across the country you'll get tremendous support. The mail will pour in, the attention will come, and we'll go to Georgia, and we'll be extremely competitive. Now, how high you go if you do very well in New Hampshire, I don't know. But that's always been our strategy.
What about Maryland? You haven't mentioned Maryland.
Well, we're going into we're going into it for one appearance in Maryland.
Got a guy, Seth Stein there.
Seth Stein is
a good organization.
Seth Stein's fourth son carries the phenomenal name of Patrick Buchanan Stein, if you can believe that. I went up to his baptism.
We got to do a quick radio hit over here, and then we have to go to the live show. So we can,
right.
You guys continue asking questions.
We're roaming around the states here. What kind of organization do you have in Texas and President's adopted home state? How do you expect
And Florida. Might as well get real local here.
In Texas, you have a chairman in every county of the state volunteered.
We got a chairman in every county of the state.
We got a chairman in almost every county of the state in Texas, and they're all volunteers, came out on their own.
Mm-hmm. And Florida?
Florida, I'm not sure. I've heard it's very much the same.
Right.
How well do you expect? Would you expect to do?
It's all. Listen, let me. This is all seriatim. What you got to do is, you got to do well in New Hampshire. I think if you do well in New Hampshire, I think you know what happened with the late Gary Hart. I mean, when he did well in New Hampshire, all of a sudden, Mondale was almost finished and had to fight back in the southern states. Now, I don't anticipate a bump of that magnitude, but I think you could get a tremendous hit, and conservatives all over this country will say, it can be done. All of them sitting on the fence inside the Beltway, and all of them sitting on the fence out in the country who are watching this with interest, I think will suddenly say, you know, maybe we can do it this time. And that's what we're sort of counting on, that these, you know, this potential army sort of rises up in every state. We get tremendous media attention. We go down to Georgia. We go head-to-head with the president on a variety of new issues as well as the old ones. And we have the momentum and the enthusiasm. And I don't think there's deep enthusiasm for George Bush. I have not seen that in this state at all. He's got support, but I don't see people coming out, we've got to get old George Bush in for another 5 years because how wonderful it would be. And so that's what we're counting on, is this tremendous enthusiasm hitting his much larger resources.
But Hart in '84 was hobbled by the fact that once he came out of here on that role, he didn't have slates.
He didn't have any ideas. Well, he didn't have any ideas. I mean, remember the what's the beat thing killed him.
But technically speaking, he wasn't on the ballot in a lot of places. He didn't have slates. So.
Well, there's no doubt that, I mean, we're hobbled by the fact we're not on in Dakota and New York and Kentucky, and I don't know if there's any other. New York, Kentucky, and
off the ballot.
Well, we weren't in Iowa. We weren't in Iowa.
Well, obviously, it's south.
Look, there's no doubt that if George Bush decides he's going to fight this out every last ditch right down to the nomination, He far outweighs us in terms of resources.
I didn't yet, but I will.
But there's a chance.
Let's go. We got to roll.
There's a chance.
We can keep rolling out questions as we move here.
So we should just meet you.
Republican presidential candidate Patrick Buchanan's campaign staff consists of the following people: